Okay, so we have the PMP Aries in S90V with a drop point blade, good looking drop point blade, a very useful blade because it's close to a spear point, so you're going to be able to do a lot with this blade shape. Then you have this textured titanium frame lock handle. It does have a steel lock bar insert, it's just screwed in from the inside. Titanium pocket clip, titanium back spacer with this, I'm going to call it a bludgeoning with this tool for hitting things.
That's a good one.
And I gotta say, it looks like a knife that you would expect to be tight. So like that's kind of what I was expecting when I got it. Like I was expecting it to feel not like a Medford, but you know, it's similar. But this is very loose, very light detent. And I'm not sure if I think it's a good thing or a bad thing yet, because it is light, but it also makes it mega fidgety. I mean, I can easily reverse flick it. Like it doesn't even feel like the blade is heavy. And I'm not saying like it's so light that it's dangerous, but I can definitely swing it out. And when you disengage it, it's a complete guillotine, complete fall shut action. It does have a choil here. A finger choil, so you can choke up right next to the edge, and it is very comfortable in the hand. No finger guard, but the texturing on the handle will definitely prevent you from slipping up the blade. So really quick, I want to talk about who this knife is for, because I think this knife is for the people that like aggressive looking knives. You know, somewhat prehistoric looking, but yet very, very tool-like, overbuilt, badassery, and that's what this is. You know, and I'm not saying it's huge and massive and everything's large on it. I'm not saying that, but everything is slightly overbuilt to some extent. It has this rocky pattern that brings, you know, somewhat prehistoricness out of it, and it's just, you know, it's aggressively mean looking. And you know, I think knives being already somewhat considered aggressive, you know, a knife that's intentionally looking aggressive, there's nothing wrong with that. And there's some people out there that absolutely love that style and love that look. I mean, I'm one of them. I'm definitely one of them. So, you know, this is a knife for that person. Somebody who isn't looking for any beauty points in their knife. Their knife is made to look aggressive. And this one does a great job at that. Another small thing I do appreciate about this knife is the size of the lock face. So if you look at here, you can see the lock face is nice and long. You know, it's not just a little tiny square, which we see a lot, you know. Does that mean that those knives are weak? No, but this knife definitely has a nice solid lockup. Not only is the actual lock face very long and nice and big, but it's also got a nice spot to land on that's also big. So it has two areas of contact that are very very large and is very tight, so it has very, very good lockup, and you can hear it, you know, when it does engage. But regardless of how it does engage, when it engages, it has a lot of area of contact, which is nice. The geometry is a little bit more on the robust side. It is a flat grind. I will say they did a decent job transitioning. So, you know, especially with a grind only starting this high, they did a decent job. And this thing's going to penetrate really, really good for poking. Lots of milling on the inside, so the weight is really, really light. Now, the stop pin is actually these studs right here. So this is the stop pin in the closed position and the open position. So it's a nice heavy duty stop pin. I don't mind that. I like that. But it's not necessarily a thumb stud, even though you can use it as a thumb stud, at least on my example. Now, some negative things really quick. So one thing is they use T6s down here. Why did they use T6s, especially for this bashing tool? You'd think that they'd want, you know, a little bit thicker, more robust hardware. Is T6s weak? No, but, you know, they tend to strip out way easier than a T8. T8s don't strip out nowhere near as easy as T6s, and they put T6s all over. So I don't like that. Next thing is the choil. I wish they would have put a notch right here, or did a better job dropping this down, because they did the plunge grind correct, actually, if you're going to do this kind of plunge grind. And what I mean is kind of like a Spyderco PM2 or something like that, where the grind from right here drops straight down to the actual cutting grind. But in this case, they did do that mostly, but then they slowly did it right here, and that's why you can see that smile right here forming. If this went just straight down instead of mostly going straight down, because it has a little bit of taper to it. Is it that big of a deal? No, you can sharpen up to the plunge grind on this one, so it's not that big of a deal, but it will look a little bit wonky back here, possibly. But for the most part, it should be pretty easy. It's just you're going to be hitting this, and it could chip your stone, so there are some things you have to be careful with this choil. But for the most part, you can sharpen up to the plunge grind, which is how you want to be able to do it if you're going to have a sharpening choil-less knife, or a knife without a choil. So they did it mostly right. Now, everything else, you know, the detent is light. Like I said, I can definitely say that the detent is on the lighter side, but I kind of like it. It's very easy to flick. Even left-handed with my fingers on the lock bar holding pressure, I can still reverse flick. So this is going to be a good one for lefties if, you know, you like titanium frame locks, but you just tend to lock yourself out. Now, as far as the detent goes, if it bothered me that much, I could easily tune it myself, so I do want to make that clear. Now, the clip, I'm not a big fan of this clip, because of the two balls. I'd rather it just be a regular clip. I'm not a big fan of the titanium ball clips or the ceramic ball clips. Now, I'm not saying there's not ones out there that work really good, because there is. I have some. But on a balance of probabilities, the ones that are like this usually don't work out that great. Now, this one's okay. It's not horrible, but I prefer a nice smooth in and out of the pocket. I don't like where it feels like the two balls right there have to like jump up onto the seam of my pants. So now, the one other thing that I'm not complaining about, because I don't know, but the S9EV, I'm hoping the S9EV is heat treated well. I'm not saying it's not. I have no idea. I have no idea the HRC, no idea anything. But what I'll say is that, you know, when using steels like this, it's a must. It is an absolute must to have a good heat treat. Then it should be a must to have it at a certain HRC, because the reason why these steels are so amazing is it only comes out with a good heat treat, and if it's at a good HRC. Otherwise, you're not going to get the edge retention that this steel is known for getting, because S9EV is an amazing steel. It's I believe it is the highest wear resistant stainless steel. I'm not 100%, maybe I'm wrong about that, but it is a very high wear resistant stainless steel. So that's really cool. You know, that's insane. So awesome edge retention, holds a really good edge. It takes an insane toothy edge. So if I was going to sharpen it up, now I mostly recommend a toothy to medium grit edge. However, I have done mirror polished edges on S9EV, and it does take it pretty good. It just doesn't hold it as good as the other edges. So it's optimal to do a toothy to medium grit edge on S9EV, but you can absolutely put a mirror polish on there. It's just, you know, it's not going to hang on to that bite quite as long as it will for a toothy edge. And for those of you that don't know or understand, the HRC is the hardness of the steel. So the softer it is, the tougher the steel will be. The harder it'll be, the harder it is, the more brittle it is. However, the harder it is, the better the edge holds. Now, there's a balance right there, right? So you need to make sure you don't lose all your toughness, but you also don't want to lose all your hardness and edge retention and go down to soft, which would be very tough, but it just ain't going to hold an edge. So you need that nice balance. And with a pocket knife, with a folding knife, we usually are wanting more edge retention than toughness. I don't see anybody batoning or anything like that with this. And even if you did, it's still going to be, you know, the blade will be plenty tough. You know, the S9EV is not considered a tough steel. So it's not for that. What are you trying to get out of S9EV? S9EV is going to be for edge retention. You want maximum edge retention. precision, and the only way you're going to get that is with a high hardness steel. Now, like I said, there is a level of which you don't want to go too high, but it seems that most companies are barely getting it to the optimal range. So our worry is almost never that it's too hard. Very, very rarely are you going to see a steel where it's like, oh man, this HRC is too high. I don't think I've ever seen it. So they always run it softer than harder. So we like to see it right there in the optimal range that any steel, and I'm not talking about just S90V, any steel is. You know, we want to see that. We don't want to see steels ran soft just to give us the steel, because the steel's number, whatever it is, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter without the heat treat. So, just a quick first impressions. I like it. I like it quite a bit. It's definitely a beast. And it's a knife that's not quite a beast, but then it's not a small. It's a full-size knife, but it looks like a monster. You know, it looks like a large, indestructible knife. And it is very ergonomic in every grip. So, it's going to be a very useful knife that looks like it's going to be a pretty tough knife. There you guys go. Until next time, peace.